Overtime!
All right, welcome back to Overtime Arcade. Now that the 2022 holiday shopping season is fully upon us, I thought I'd throw together a quick little video showcasing some gift ideas for the arcade repair and restoration enthusiast in your life, even if that person happens to be you. These are all tools that I obviously use myself, some of them on a regular basis, and others I only break out once in a while when I need them to get the job done. You've seen me use most of these on the channel already, but there are a few others that I haven't used on camera just yet. You can find most of these products on Amazon, but some aren't being manufactured anymore, so you'll need to look on eBay or elsewhere. And others are only sold by more specialized arcade and pinball vendors. I'll include links to all of them in the video description down below, along with their current prices as of November 2022. Now, some of these tools are rather spendy, but others are really inexpensive. So you've got a nice mix here of larger gifts to spread out under the Christmas tree, as well as some perfect stocking stuffers too. And of course, don't forget about your Secret Santa shopping list. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. So first and foremost, an absolutely essential tool, one that I use almost every single day, and something that everyone needs if you're gonna work on this stuff, is a really good digital multimeter. What you wanna look for is one with true RMS. Without diving into the details there, that means that you're gonna get a much more accurate reading from sensitive AC voltages like you'll find in computers and arcade games and pinball machines. I really like the Fluke 117. It's tried and tested. It's never let me down. Like I said, I use it almost every single day. Now it is getting a bit pricey recently, but to me it's worth every single penny. Another tool that I use all the time and is pretty inexpensive is this little Skill cordless USB screwdriver. I really like that it charges over USB, so you can power it up, charge it up almost everywhere you go. And it's a very underpowered screwdriver, which is actually a good thing. You don't really want a powerful, power screwdriver, because then you could risk, over torquing things and cracking a PCB or something like that, God forbid. So yeah, I love that little screwdriver. Another tool I use all the time are these side cutters or edge cutters. These are actually made by Hakko. I actually like quite a few tools from Hakko. You see a bunch of them here, and I always thought it was pronounced Hakko or Hakko, something like that. But I looked it up and it's Hakko, so I'm glad I did that. So yeah, these little edge cutters are great for making nice little precise cuts. All right, now looking at some soldering tools here. First and foremost is my soldering station, my soldering iron and digital soldering station here. This is also by Hakko. It's an FX888D. I really like it. You can control the temperature with that little digital readout. That's been great for me. One tool that is kind of pricey here again is this Hakko desoldering tool. This is the Hakko FR301. This is absolutely a fantastic tool if you're going to be doing a lot of soldering work, doing cap kits, that sort of thing. Makes it really easy and almost fun to remove, old solder. But it is a little bit expensive. I've got a little, stand for it here. I just love that tool a ton. But if you're looking more on the inexpensive side, there's the old reliable solder pult to, suck the melted solder off of the board. And if you want to go a little bit nicer, this is a tool that I recently picked up from Vampire Tools, a little solder sucker. Works a little bit nicer, but a little bit more expensive than the old reliable solder pult. For solder itself, I really like the Kester 44 rosin core solder, but buy whatever you like there. I've got a little solder reel here that I recently picked up, just keeps things organized nice and neat. Obviously helping hands, you've seen me use these a few times just for, delicate solder work. You need to kind of hold things in place, whether wires or whatever, that's great. This Kester Flux pen, flux is your friend. Makes things, flow a lot easier, go a lot better. So I like that Flux pen for some detailed applications. This Weeha chip lifter tool is kind of an interesting thing. If you're going to be working on boards, maybe even basic things like reseating ROMs, a little tool like this makes it easy to lift those socketed chips off the board. It's basically just a tiny little screwdriver with the bent tip there, but makes it easy to kind of get leverage and pull those out. This right here is called, or I guess from Euro Tools, just a fiberglass scratch pen. If you're going to be cleaning, contacts, if you're going to be, removing oxidation from PCBs, that sort of thing, that's a nice little tool to use that. This teeny tiny little thing here is actually a fuse remover. It's got 2 different sizes on either end. Just makes it really easy, especially to pull some of those stubborn fuses out of fuse holders. What else do we got here? Alligator clips. So you'll constantly be needing to connect things just for testing or whatever. So having a nice pile of alligator clips makes your life, much better. Another tool you may have seen me use recently is this set of terminal pin remover keys. Basically, there's a bunch of different sizes for various Molex and amp pins. It makes it really, really easy and simple to remove pins from existing connectors if you want to redo your work or want to reuse old connectors. Very, very cheap, but it comes in handy quite a bit. Speaking of terminal pins, here's a ratcheting crimper tool that I use quite a lot from Hobbyists. It's the SN2549. Got a bunch of different sizes here for different sizes of pins, and yeah, I like that quite a bit. One tool that you've seen me use at least once is this logic probe from Elenco. Basically, if you're going to be doing some, simple PCB diagnostic troubleshooting, this logic probe can really, really help you kind of figure out what's working, what's not working. It's not going to do a ton of detailed diagnostics, but sort of tell you what's alive and what's not alive on the board. And this is relatively inexpensive too. A thing that I recently picked up is this blue ring tester. This essentially, what I use it for is for testing flybacks. Can give you a sense of, if there's a shortage in the winding or that sort of thing. And you can actually buy this as a kit, completely disassembled, and just solder all the components together, and it's almost like you're building your own tool, which is, I guess, kind of fun. If you're going to be doing any kind of monitor work, even just adjusting monitors, you want to pick up some of these TV adjustment tools. Basically, these are plastic screwdrivers that are non-conductive in various sizes and shapes and whatnot. You can get these as a set. There's a couple different kinds. Fillmore makes some of these, and it makes it a lot safer to adjust pots and other things on the monitor while the monitor is on. Obviously, if you use a metal screwdriver, you could risk breaking things or shorting things or shocking yourself. So these plastic screwdrivers really come in handy for that. Another tool you've seen me use frequently are these kind of automatic wire strippers. I like this one from Klein Tools. You basically stick your wire in, squeeze them together, and it strips the wire back for you to make connections or whatnot. So that's great. A new tool that I recently picked up and really haven't tried much yet is this transistor tester. Basically, you can plug in all different kinds of components here, and it'll tell you the ESR rating for capacitors. It'll tell you, the resistance for resistors and test diodes and transistors. So that's great. Looking forward to trying this out soon. Another tool you haven't seen me use yet, but I've used quite a bit, is this degaussing coil. So if you've got some discoloration in your monitor caused by weird magnetic issues, most monitors do have a built-in degausser, but sometimes you need a little bit of help to get it right. So I've used this degaussing coil quite a bit, which definitely comes in handy. Sometimes you need to strip old stickers off or old side art or various other things like that, and you need a heat gun. This is just a cheap one that I picked up online. Nothing fancy, but gets the job done when I need it. In terms of cleaning, a couple different go-to products for me. Obviously, Simple Green is a staple. You've seen me use this from time to time. It's a degreaser, so cleaning up decades of smoke and nicotine and dust and grime. Just works magic, and it's very, very, very safe to use. But if you're going to be cleaning glass, like the monitor screen, like the actual tube, or a glass bezel, something like that, I recommend using Windex, especially the ammonia-free kind, to minimize streaking. Another sort of go-to product for cleaning arcade games is magic erasers. You can buy the name brand stuff. That gets a little expensive. I, as you can see, buy them in bulk, and you can get them very, very cheaply online, which is great. Another cleaning product here is Novus. There's a couple different levels of Novus. These are basically, I guess, plastic polishes. So for polishing, scratches out of plastic bezels or the ball tops of joysticks. I use Novus 2 mostly, but I have Novus 1 and 3. They're basically just different levels, like different grits of sandpaper, basically, but it's a polish. Wrap Attack I use for applying side art and other types of adhesive artwork. That would be referred to as the wet method. I guess you can technically make your own rapid tack, but I'd rather just buy it and save myself a step. Deoxit for cleaning electrical contacts. So a little dab will do you on this for sure. But again, if you're having connection issues, one thing to always try is to clean things up, and I use Deoxit for that. One tool that you haven't seen me use is this tumbling barrel. There's a bunch of different kinds. Some of them are used for polishing rocks, right? Like if you're a rock collector. Some of them are used for polishing brass if you reload ammunition. But basically, if you've got a bunch of rusty, bolts and screws and other things like that, you can throw them into this tumbler with some media to basically do all the sanding for you. Very, very detailed work. Kind of let it run for a day or so, polish everything up real nice, and do it for you automatically without lifting a finger. So another thing for monitor work is this test pattern generator by CraftyMech. So this basically, it has its own power. It's got a 9-volt battery. It connects to arcade monitors of various types, various kinds of connections, and basically produces all types of different test patterns. So, color bars, cross hatches, checkerboards, that sort of thing, to let you test out your monitor that you're working on without having to hook it up to a PCB as a video signal. This is made by CraftyMech, as I mentioned, and a lot of different arcade and pinball, or I guess mostly arcade vendors carry this product. You want to make sure that you get the right cables for it. There are some standard cables, but if you work on Nintendo monitors like Sanyos and Sharps, you want to make sure you get the Nintendo cables for the TPG. So definitely a more specialized tool, but one that I highly recommend is an oscilloscope, especially if you're working on vector games with vector monitors, or you want to get into more sophisticated PCB repair. You want to get a good analog oscilloscope. You can basically use this as a vector monitor to test out a vector PCB without hooking it up to an actual vector monitor and potentially damaging that monitor with bad voltages. Obviously, they really don't make these analog oscilloscopes anymore, so you need to find used ones on eBay or elsewhere. I've got a Tektronix 2246. Basically, to do vector stuff, you want to have at least 2 channels that supports XY mode so you can get that vector image on the screen. Typically, these used ones are sold without probes, so you want to go on eBay or elsewhere and get some oscilloscope probes. I'll put a link down in the description for that. Let's see what else. So another thing, if you're working on vector games, you do want to get a good HV probe for testing the high voltage on the vector monitor. Now, if you're not working on vectors, you can typically just use a regular multimeter to test the B plus voltage to make adjustments there. But if you're working on a vector monitor like a Wells Gardner 6100, it's important to test the high voltage directly and not indirectly via the B plus. So I recommend getting a high voltage probe. These can be kind of expensive, but usually you can find used ones for a better deal on eBay. This one is actually made by Fluke, just like my multimeter, and this is model number 80K-40 HV probe. It actually plugs into your multimeter, but allows you to test those high voltages directly. Another tool, arguably essential for working on arcade monitors, is a rejuvenator. This tool does a bunch of different things. It allows you to test the tube and see if you've got any sort of problems with the CRT tube itself. It can remove shorts and other sort of problems there. And it also, if it comes to it, can rejuvenate the electron guns in the tube itself. If you've got color issues or one of the colors isn't strong enough, you can basically blast it with a rejuvenator as kind of a last-ditch effort, hoping to burn off gunk from the gun and bring that monitor back to life. So we haven't seen this on the video, in any of my videos yet, but you will soon. I recommend the B&K 467. It seems to be probably the most popular one. But yeah, this is an important one for working on monitors. And also, this is something that isn't manufactured anymore, so you'll need to find a used one, hopefully in working shape on eBay. But even if it's not working, you can usually get these going yourself if you're working on anything like this. And just as a little bonus, I really like these sawhorses if you're working on cabinets. I like these Craftsman metal folding sawhorses. This is really 2 sawhorses right here, just folded up and click together. Makes it really easy to store away. And yeah, if you need to get the cabinet off the ground on its side, something like that, those sawhorses come in handy. So yeah, basically that's it. lots of different tools here, different things that you might want to pick up for yourself or someone you love over the holidays. Maybe you can take advantage of some Black Friday or Cyber Monday deals or something like that. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. I guess that about does it for this episode. As always, I'm Charlie. Happy holidays, and thanks for watching Overtime Arcade.
Overtime!